We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello, welcome you all. Myself, Professor D.K. Mehta, Assistant Professor in Chemical Engineering Department, LA College, Morbi. So, welcome another online video lecture. Right. So, yes. So, today's topic is how to solve example with FUG method. So, it's studied in the subject multi-compound distillation. The subject code is 2180505. See, FUG method is a shortcut method to determine number of theoretical stages for given reflux ratio, right? So in that way, we study FUG method also, and we try to learn how to solve the example with FUG method. Also, I think the in PED 1, right? This method is also comes to students for the 6th semester. It is also this lecture can be useful, right? So the content of this lecture will be to decide key components, right? Complete material balance, find average relative volatilities of all component, determine RM, NM, and determine N for the desired separation. So these are the main 6 steps with which we can solve the example with the help of FUG method. So the first thing is to decide the key components. See, we're just going with preferable with the exam point of view, right? So generally, if key component is given, then there is no issue. Otherwise, from the given data, you have to decide what will be the key component. I have already uploaded one videos regarding this key component, so you can refer it. Yes, and my suggestion to you that keep the book of S.B. Thakur sir, which is a you can say a basic book of this subject multi-component distillation. If you keep this book with you, it will be quite useful to you, right? So the first and important thing is to decide the key components, right, to solve this multi-component example. Second important thing, always you have to complete the material balance, right? So in that, all the components listed on the one side, and for all the components for feed, distillate, and residue, you have to determine molar feed rate and the mole fractions. This is needed, so this must be completed. You can see any examples, right? Now the main thing is to find average relative volatilities of all components, right? So in case of binary distillation, we find out the relative volatility of more volatile component with respect to low volatile component. Now in case of multi-component distillation, we have to determine the average relative volatility of any component with respect to heavy key, right? So if in the examination or anywhere, if the alphas are given to you, then it's okay, then we have no issue. But if it is not given, then we can determine it by 2 ways. One is with the help of equilibrium constant K, right? So how we can determine equilibrium constant, right? So in your book, right, this kind of figure is given to you. So just find out. So how we can find out K? That, so my suggestion to you, just find this book, and find this figure in your book. Just I wait for some time, or you can pause the video. Okay. So I hope you get it, that book and graph, right? So if the graph is given to you, right, so you put a one scale, right, draw a line, right, which joins the given pressure and temperature, right? That line cuts that particular, the straight line is given in this graph, right? It is for component. So for example, if you want to find out what will be the value of K for methane, right? Say my pressure is 1500 kPa and the temperature is say 30 degrees Celsius. So put a scale, right, which joins 1500 kilopascal pressure and 30 degrees Celsius temperature, right? So if you draw a line, it will cut the line of methane at some particular point. That will be your K. For ethane, for ethylene, for propylene, for propane, it is given, right? So if pressure and temperature is given, you can determine the K like that. So my suggestion to you that you just go through this. This is practice needed, right? In examination, I think in GTU only once the chart is given to you, so you find out. But otherwise, in your real life, in the real field, you need to find out the data from this kind of charts, right? So once again, say for example, you have propane, right, and you have to determine the K value of K at 1600 kPa and say of 35 degrees Celsius. So put scale and identify and then try to read what will be the value of K. Right? That will be quite useful to you. So if you determine K for every component, right? So to determine relative volatility of particular ith component is you find out the value of K, and it should be divided by the value of K of heavy key, right? Now, as you all know that this volatility changes with respect to temperature, right? So that's why we use word average relative volatility. So what will we do? Say at top you have different temperature, at bottom we have different temperature. Pressure is more or less constant. There may be slight pressure drop is there. So you have to determine the values of K at top and values of K at bottom, right? If it is given directly, then there is no issue. But if it is not given, you have to find out, right? So at top you have to find out alpha, and at bottom you have to find out alpha with that particular temperature, right? And then you have to find out alpha average for that particular component. See, the formula is alpha top into alpha bottom, the whole under root, right? Under root of alpha top into alpha bottom. See, this is a geometric mean. So instead of arithmetic mean, we are using geometric mean, right? So with the help of K. Another way is we can determine this with the help of this Antoine equation. Sorry, I just changed this. Okay, so yeah, so fine. This is equation for Antoine. This is Antoine equation, right? So this is ln PV A minus B upon T plus C, right? A, B, C are constant. T is temperature in Kelvin. PV is torr or mmFg. This is vapor pressure, right? So with the help of Antoine equation for a given temperature, you can determine the vapor pressure of particular component. So similarly, like value of K equilibrium constant, you divide this value of vapor pressure of ith component with the vapor pressure of heavy key, right? And then once in the same way you determine alpha, average relative volatility. See, once again I am telling you, if alpha is given to you, you should not go into all this jugglery, right? If it is not given to you, you need to find out whether you have to go for K, whether K is given to you. If not given, then graph is given to you, or Antoine equation is given to you. Then in that case the ABC should be given to you. If in the examination or anywhere, if alpha is given, you should not enter into all this jugglery. Okay, so this is the important thing. You have to find out key components before starting FUG method. You should know what will be the key component. If it is given, that's okay. Not, then you interpret from the data. And you have to complete material balance. And any examination or in any method, you have to complete material balance and then alpha. If it is given to you, that's okay. Now we know that first in FUG method, first of all we go with Underwood's method. See, Underwood's method is for to determine RM, minimum reflux ratio. Now at minimum reflux ratio, so my question to you is that what will be the number of theoretical stages and at minimum reflux ratio? What is number of theoretical stages at minimum reflux ratio? Just take a pause and think. Okay, the answer is it is infinite number of theoretical stages required. See, the relation between R and N, right? I have uploaded one video under the subject of mass transfer operation. So if you want to clear your concept regarding minimum reflux ratio, total reflux and optimum reflux ratio, you can go and check, right? So this is Underwood's method. Now two equations are used in Underwood's method. So to start with, we have to go with the first equation. See, these are, you can see, I use scan scanner, scan this data, and that is from, right? So this is sigma alpha I xif upon alpha I minus vega, right, is equal to 1 minus q. See, alpha is the average relative volatility of ith component, xif is the mole fraction of ith component phi, vega that we need to determine, and q, you know that q is hg upon hg minus hf divided by hg minus hl. So you can refer a book, right? So you have to determine q, that actually shows you the feed condition. Maybe in future I will prepare a video on q in mass transfer, right? So this is a q. So from this you have to determine this value of vega. Now this vega you need to determine with the help of trial and error. And you cannot determine, say, if there are 4 components of feed, right? So you in the left hand side you have 4 terms, it should be equal to right hand side, right? So you have to go by trial and error. Now suppose you have to assume certain value of vega. So what should be your assumption, right? So see, the guess can be wild guess or educated guess, right? So we should go with educated guess. The value of vega should be in between the alpha hk and alpha lk, right? It should be in the range of alpha hk and alpha lk. So we know that alpha hk is always 1, right? And alpha lk has some value. So we should start with some value. You can start with arithmetic mean or anything else, what you convenient. So now you find out some value on the left hand side, right? Now say it is not matching, right? So now you have to change the value of phi. Now for example, if what you assume certain value of vega v and you find out LHS. Now on the right hand side, say you required 0, that means say your q is 1. When your q is 1, nothing. Okay, q is 1 when my feed is saturated liquid, right? So my right hand side should be 0. Now suppose that on the left hand side you put some value of vega and you got 0.5. So that means you have to reduce that value, right? To reduce that value, now everything is constant. You have to just focus on vega. So to reduce the value of left hand side, actually you have to increase the value of denominator. And to increase the value of denominator, you have to reduce the value of vega, right? So what is the important thing? The important thing is that if you reduce the value of vega, your left hand side value of left hand side will be reduced, and if you increase the value of vega, your value on the left hand side should increase, right? So first of all, you will start assuming any value of vega, right? It should be in between 1 to the alpha lk, right? Then you find out something and it should be met with your right hand side, right? So now you know the direction, right? So in which direction you have to work, right? So great, in this way you can work. So my suggestion to you is that you should keep your calci and try to solve some examples. See, this is a kind of do loop, right? So if your vega you cannot determine properly, then everything will be collapsed. Okay, so once you determine your vega, you have to apply second equation, sigma xi into xid upon alpha I minus vega is equal to Rm plus 1. So alpha I, you know, xid is the mole fraction of ith component distillate, right? Vega, you know, any constant and any arbitrary value, and Rm is the minimum reflux ratio. So you can determine Rm. So now we move to the Fenski's equation, right? Fenski's equations give you a minimum number of theoretical stages. See, we determine minimum number of minimum reflux ratio. Now we are finding minimum number of theoretical stages. At when we get minimum number of the theoretical stages? Think. Okay. The answer is that at total reflux. And at total reflux, what will be my reflux ratio? Right. So once again, you can go through that my lecture if you don't know the answer. Right. Everything will be clear to you. Right. So at total reflux, that means from minimum we to reach to the another extreme. You know that if we increase R, that is reflux ratio, my N will be reduced. The number of theoretical stages required for desired separation. So at one hand, if I find out Rm, at that time I required N is equal to infinite. Now I want to find out, okay, I will go with total reflux, then what will be the minimum number of theoretical stages required for desired separation? So this is equation Nm is equal to log of xlk upon xhk of D distillate. That means the mole fraction of light key to the mole fraction of heavy key in the distillate into xhk upon xlk B. B means residue. So that means mole fraction of heavy key divided by mole fraction of light key in residue. So see the log of that. Students sometimes makes a mistake when log is used, right? You should go with the base of 10, and when ln is used, you should go with the base of e. So over here, the log is given, you should go with the base of 10, right? Divided by log of alpha lk, right? In that way, you're going to find out nm. So now you find out 2 extreme. Right. So now you know that even in the binary distillation in semester 6 mass transfer operation 2, right, that we have 2 extreme, but we should go for optimum reflux ratio. That means the reflux ratio where the total cost is minimum, right? So even in this semester the topic comes, right? So to determine that we use Gilliland correlation. The correlation is given to you, right? So you can use it. Now determine number of theoretical stages. See what things can be possible. See, if reflux ratio is given, for example, say R is equal to 5, or say R is equal to 2.5 Rm, right? Then simply you use this Gilliland correlation, right? How? Say for example your R is equal to 5, then first of all you have to find out psi. The step must be clear to you that you first of all need to determine psi, right? R minus Rm upon R plus 1. Rm you determine with the help of Underwood's equation, right? Then you have to determine Fn. Fn is equal to 1 minus exponential in the bracket this function of psi. Once you find out Fn, then you can find out Fn is equal to n minus nm upon n plus 1, so that you can find out n. You should go with the one calculation. Else if R is given like 2.5 Rm, so say for your Rm is given, say your Rm is maybe say 1.5 say 2, and say take your Rm is 1, so your now Re will be 2.5 times Rm. That means your R is 2.5. So once again you can approach the same. So you have to go with one calculation. That means the R is given to you. You should not worry that it is optimum or not. It is an actual reflux ratio, so you should follow it. But sometimes it is possible that specific value of R is not given, right? So a specific value of R is not given to you. So now what you do, that you have to determine optimum reflux ratio. So in that case, what will you do? Say at Rm, your number of theoretical stages required is infinite. So we start to take any R which is slightly higher than Rm. So you will get the value of finite n. Gradually you will increase the value of R. As you increase the value of R, your n will be decreased. And at certain point of R, what will happen that if you increase value of R, there is a tapering in the values of N. That means even if you increase R, your N will not decrease in important amount. So the value of R, from where there is a tapering in the value of N start, that R is actual reflux ratio, and N is your number of theoretical stages for the desired separation. See this one example, right? This is from the book S.B. Thakur sir's book, right? So the example is ready-made given to you. You can see. So what is the main purpose? See in that example, the RM was 1.45. I am not going to discuss a lot because then the length of video will be too much, right? So that value of R is instead of 1.45, you will start with R is equal to 1.7. See, it is you can say 20% higher value, right? Why it is so? Because generally, as a kind of thumb rule, that R is generally 1.2 to 2 times of Rm, right? It is not always true. For difficult separations, the value of R can be higher, but that's why for a safety, generally 20% higher value of Rm we start, right? So now you have to first of all determine psi, then Fn and N, right? Now to doing this, what is important? See, there are cross checks. So if you see, if you increase the value of R, your psi is increasing. As you increase R, your psi is increasing, your Fn is decreasing, and your N is decreasing. So as you increase R, your psi is increasing, and your Fn and N both will decrease. This is a kind of cross check, right? So even in the examination, maybe sometimes due to some calculation error, maybe the variation comes, but this thing should be in your mind, right? That with the increase in the value of R, the value of psi must be increased and value of Fn and N must be decreased. So now if you look at, when R is 1.7, your N is 10.67. So you can say it is almost 11. When R is 2, right? So your N is 8.75. So it is 9, right? When R is 2.5, your N is 7.27. Now over here you will go, and 7.27 is equal to 7 or 8. Well, generally in mathematics, if it is low, the value is lower than 5, then we round it off to the next digit. So if it is less than 7.5, so 7. But over here there is a difference, right? To achieve a desired separation, when reflux ratio R is 2.5, my N, if my N is 7, then I will not get my desired separation. So I have to go higher set. So my N should be 8, not 7. This thing must be in your mind. Okay. Now, when my R is 3, my N will be 6.52. That means my N is 7, right? For R is equal to 3.5, my N is 6.07. So now approximation, what will be 6 or 7? Then it should not be 6, it should be 7. See, even if it is 6.01, I should go with 7, because otherwise I will not achieve a desired separation, right? So if you look at, see, at R 1.7, my N is 11. At 2, N should be 9. So my N is reduced by 2. Further ahead, at 2.5, my N should be 8. So from 9, it is 8. At R is equal to 3, my N should be nearly equal to 7, right? It should be minimum 7. And at 3.5, still I read 7. So now the tapering in the values of N started. So that's why I will say that my actual reflux ratio will be R is equal to 3, and N will be 6.52, nearly equal to 7, right? So this will be my R for required for desired separation, and will be the number of theoretical stages for the desired separation, right? So this is my suggestion to you. Just use your calculator and try to solve, right? Okay. The last thing, it is not a part of FUG method, but uh, to determine a fit tray location, right, we know that it is also necessary. So the one equation given by Kirk and Bright, right, so that is log nr by ns is equal to 0.206, right. Nr is a number of theoretical stages in rectification section, and ns is the number of theoretical stages in the stripping section, right. Log of W by D. W is molar feed rate of residue and D is molar feed rate of my distillate. X HK X LK of FF shows the feed, right? And X HK SK LK, you know. Then into XBLK, that means the mole fraction of light key in residue divided by XTHK, mole fraction of heavy key in the distillate whole square, right. Now we know that nr plus ns should be equal to n. So now we over here we have two unknown nr and ns, and we have two equation. You find out nr and ns, so you can determine the feed tray location, right. So we complete this. So let's take a revision of what we discussed. To solve any example, first of all we have to decide key components. If so, anytime you read any example, you need to find out what will be your key component. If not given, then try to look at the database, and sometimes even you have to complete the material balance, right. So by doing that, says how can you determine, say, if the values of alpha is given to you, right. So if a component whose alpha is 1, that means it is automatically your heavy key. For light key, you have to look at the material balance, right. The component which is in important amount in the residue, you find out, and the components which are lighter than that will be your light key. Vice versa, you go for material balance and check the component, the heavier component will be absent in the distillate, that component will be my heavy key, right. So now you have to complete material balance, and you have to determine what will be average relative volatility. This is my suggestion to you, that you should read a problem thoroughly. If alpha for each and every component is given, you should not go with any jugglery. See, sometimes students, what they just, you know, you used to study a small example, and if any twist is given, say examiner is given you the value of alpha, so no need to go for K or PVI, right. If it is not given, then you can go for K and PVI, which we discussed. But if the alpha is given to you, you should not worry, right. So if key component alpha is given to you, just take it, complete material balance, and determine RM with the help of Underwood's method. Determine NM, which is the easiest part, right. You should go with this Fenski's equation. Now you can see that in Fensky and Underwood's method, in both the method, we required the data of mole fraction of component feed, residue, and distillate. So if your material balance is incorrect, right, your answer will be totally incorrect. And finally, with the help of Gilliland correlation, you can determine N, right. So once again over here, my suggestion to you, that if try to see the examiner has asked for some specific R, then just go for only one calculation. Else you can go for the more calculation and then determine the R where there is a tapering in the values of N, right. And if it is asked to find out fit tray location, you can go with Kirkbride equation. Uh, if you have any query, you can mail me. My mail ID is dkmehta07@gmail.com, right. So my student can from LA can contact me anytime. If you feel, you can mail me, right. And if you feel that any topic which would you like to study, and I should make a video, then please tell me. I will try to help you out. Okay, thank you very much for listening this video. Thank you.